Well, you may be familiar with The Single Girl. Many of us watched Carrie Bradshaw on Sex and the City, but more women in real life are staying single. So why is that? Welcome to Trending. I'm Andrea Tanteros. Joining me is Melanie Notkin, author of Otherhood, which is a book that's sweeping the nation, and a lot of women are racing out and they're buying this book because it's resonating with them. Melanie, why are so many women staying single more than ever before?
Because we won't settle for a lesser love. Because we want the right relationship, and we're waiting for that right relationship before even becoming mothers. So we now have the financial security and all of the education and the independence as modern women to wait for the right love, and we won't settle for less.
And you also say that women are waiting to have kids. So there's a lot of women staying single, but there's also women who are not having children, and that is because they're waiting for the right partner. They don't want to go at it alone. They don't want to be the Murphy Brown and run out and try and be a single mother. Talk a little bit about what's wrong with the guys, because we were talking earlier. What is prompting all of these single women looking for love? It seems to be maybe an issue on the other side of the gender aisle.
I think it's an issue on both sides, and that I think the feminism, the movement was wonderful, and we have so much to be grateful for. However, I think it became a little confusing for Generation X, and that here we are, these modern, independent women, and we were told, well, in order to be equal to men, we had to be more like men, and we started to literally meet them in the middle for a date. And the men were like, well, I don't want to be called a chauvinist pig, so I'm going to lean back and I'll let her pick the restaurant, and I'll let her take charge. And meanwhile, well, that dynamic doesn't necessarily work for a lot of women. We want a man who's going to pick that restaurant, be a little chivalrous, a lot chivalrous on that date. And that was the #1 complaint I got from women, no matter how well educated they were, how financially secure they were. Really, bottom line, with all the women I interviewed, pick the restaurant.
So, okay, have we become too potent, or are they just not stepping up?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that women, powerful women, have to know the power in our femininity, which means sometimes to lean back and to let him plan the date, to give him permission to be the man that he enjoys to be. And men have gotten a little lazy, and I spoke to some matchmakers, and I talk about it in the book, like, you've got to be able to make sure that you plan the date, you be decisive, be thoughtful. Don't say, yeah, come to the restaurant right near my business place when it's pouring rain. So I think it's a little bit of both. Women have to learn, as we know, to lean in at work, but lean back at night, and vice versa for men.
Okay, so look at these statistics that we have from your book here. Non-moms in America, let's look at that one first. 80% say they could lead a happy life without kids. 47% of women childbearing age aren't mothers. Okay, 80% of women say they could lead a happy life without kids. And also, 46 want kids. 36% don't want kids. 18 are on the fence. What's the reason? Let's take the first poll we looked at first. Say they could lead a happy life without kids. That has dramatically changed over the decades. Are women just resigning themselves to, hey, look, I have a great career, I've got the money, if it doesn't happen for me, I'm at peace with it, I'm not going to settle?
So these are statistics that came out of a study called Shades of Otherhood I worked on with DeVries Global PR, and we looked at 2,000 women, 1,000 moms, 1,000 non-moms, and what we found was, yes, indeed, that while women may not have children, some by circumstance like myself, I've always wanted to find love, get married, and have children, some by choice, most of us find a way to be happy. Nonetheless, we are not these sad sack women with, well, there was nothing wrong with cats. I once had a cat myself with 12 cats waiting for some Prince Charming we read about when we were 3 years old. We are capable, modern women who find other ways, find new ways to find happiness. And by the way, the numbers actually haven't changed, which have gotten more attention on the idea of child-free. In fact, there was a Gallup poll that came out in September that was the same numbers as the same Gallup poll from 1990 that said the same number of men and women of childbearing age, through age 40 they looked at, want children. Only 5% of adults are child-free by choice. And I completely champion and defend that choice. However, I don't know that necessarily the numbers or the reaction to whether or not one wants to be a parent has changed.
Well, I'm thinking back to maybe the 40s, the 50s, or the 60s, when women felt like they didn't have the option. These numbers have changed since then. I mean, women feel like they have a lot of options. In fact, I think the complaint is they have too many. They're overwhelmed. They have too many responsibilities. Like, thanks, feminism, for all this responsibility, but now I'm just so busy, I don't have time for everything else.
Well, that's true to some degree, meaning there's no question. 1976, women who were childless was 35%. In 2010, the latest U.S. Census data, as we saw right there, was 47%. And that doesn't include women like me. I just turned 45 and I'm childless. And so there are definitely more women who become mothers later or, unfortunately, are not mothers by the time they end their fertility. However, yes, we have a lot of choices, but the best choice, which feminism gave us, was to wait for love. And of course they became mothers once they got married, but why did they become married? Because they had to have a roof over their head.
For love. And you know what? Maybe if they did wait for the right one, instead of feeling the pressure, maybe the divorce rate would go down. So if women just leaned in at work, leaned back a little bit, men stepped it up. If women let them be men again, but men stepped it up, and they waited for the right person, maybe this could solve this problem.
Andrew, you're right. The studies show that actually women who marry at 35 later actually have healthier, longer marriages.
Well, I'm going to take that to the bank. God, this segment made me feel so much better. Oh, good. Melanie Notkin, author of Otherhood, a fantastic book. Make sure to check it out. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Andrea.
And thank you for watching Trending. We'll see you next week.